Leaving that in.
The year is 2025. Elon Musk has realized that Mars is really a dead rock, and the human population isn't going to need all that space anyway. So he liquidated most of his assets and built a theme park on the moon. The theme of that park? Miami Beach 1982, Albert Einstein. Ryan and Giles have used their machine to travel there to record yet another meaningless conversation for about an hour, or at least until their duck and their dog sort their shit out. This is that podcast.
Well, here we are at lovely Elon Musk's bloody theme park. It's a very specific theme, I must say. Oddly specific, I would say.
Miami Beach 1982, Albert Einstein.
He fucking nailed it, though. The decor, Albert Einstein, he's around.
All of the you must be this tall to ride the roller coaster, like little posters, are actually just Albert Einstein with his hand up to about like 5'10". Sorry guys, if you're under 5'10", Albert Einstein does not want you to ride the roller coasters. Tell you what I didn't think about before we came here, or before Elon Musk made a theme park.
Yeah.
How there's not really a lot of gravity.
No.
So I don't know how
Any of the rides would work.
Yeah, I don't know how any of it works.
Yeah, most theme park rides are highly reliant on gravity.
I think that's probably why Albert Einstein is a relevant choice for the theme, because I'm sure he had some things to say about the physics of it all.
I got a thing or two to say about gravity. Let me please tell you. 2 minutes in, let's do a quick... if you're listening to this podcast, you should know what it is by now. So, we do a show like this. We'll talk about some stuff. Actually, no, that's enough. That's enough of a show. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell, unless you're listening to this on Spotify.
What can you do on Spotify? Just follow, can't you?
Yeah, preferably go on our Patreons and give us some money.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
While you're at it, why don't you start your own podcast and then start beef with us, because that's good content.
That would be hilarious.
We need content. I would love it if we inspired several other podcasts just through the sheer fact that if these guys are doing it, fucking anyone can do it. I guess that's the point of podcasts anyway. But we may have lowered the bar even further though.
Yeah, but we're putting more effort into that really low bar. I think that's the trade-off. Either we put no effort into something that is like really highly thought out, or just put too much effort into absolutely nothing at all. Those are my two modes of being.
At least this way you finish a project. It's really hard to not finish this podcast. We would have to actively attempt to not complete this. We'd have to...
Well, once it starts, like, it's got to end. That's what it's all working towards.
Giles, how are you? Introduce yourself. Let's do what is this, podcast? Who are you?
Yeah. I'm Giles. I'm a host of this podcast, and I like to do a little bit of drawing, and I'm homeless.
Is that true? What?
Nah, that's not true.
Oh, Jesus.
Just joking.
How are you though?
Freaked you out there for a second.
How are you besides besides having a home to live in?
I reckon I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing alright.
Excellent.
I think the fact that I am doing alright is even I don't know, like even stronger, because I've got a lot of things to be not alright about. So basically that translates to being like pretty good. How are you, Ray?
I'm great. It's nice when you if you're in a, not necessarily if you're in a dark position right now, but if things are going poorly, but you somehow manage to stay happy, that's a very exciting time.
Yeah, that's a good kind of like resilience or whatever. It's like super.
Probably means you're you're prepared to learn as much as you can from whatever shit situation you're in.
Oh yeah, and like we said on the last episode, I'm basically cannibalizing everything that I feel. So like, I think you can milk sadness while you've got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. I wrote a line in a rip. Can't remember how it goes, but basically it was saying that you learn the most in bad weather. That rhymed with a thing. That's why it made sense. But yeah, whatever. You learn the most in bad weather. I don't know.
Do you know Geordie Shanks? I think his last name is.
No, I don't.
Also known as Friendly Geordies.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So he has a
Aussie
personal
YouTuber.
channel where he one of the things that he does quite well is he's read a whole lot of self-help stuff, like lots. He said that basically he would have 3 or 4 like self-help books on the go that he's trying to figure out what most of the books share in common as their like lessons, and then he just like makes these unedited videos where he just talks at length about motivational truths essentially. And and he was saying, I watched an episode of whatever he does last night, and he was going on about how if you were this is relevant to the whole bad weather philosophy. If you can't do one part of a process, do the other parts of it. Like there's no point in time when like the entire thing is completely out of reach. Like so say if all your musical equipment broke altogether, then you just move into the writing phase. Just keep writing until you amass the equipment you need.
Yeah. I think it's no, you've finished.
Yeah, and I'm saying, so if it's bad weather, if you can't go out and dance in the park with cloudy skies, then you're at home choreographing. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. That's a good analogy. That was that kind of just in terms of the art thing. That's definitely younger artists do that a lot, and I certainly did when I was trying to do stuff at the start. Is like if there was one thing that went wrong about my setup or about whatever I was trying to do, then that will just derail the entire project, and it's really hard to get back on the horse after you just lose.
Oh, I was
part
like
of it.
that too. And that's actually, I think, why I had such turbulent mood issues. Because if I felt bad, like, basically everything was broken. Like, absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Which is just silly. Like, I reckon I'm only finally consolidating that truth at the moment. Where, like, I feel like when I get into a bad mood, or if I'm like in a low mood, sad mood, then just like I have a problem with everything. Like everything is a problem, not just the shit in my life that sucks.
Yeah.
And so you've got to like sort of see outside of that. I think you have to do that if you're going to write a song. Like imagine you're so depressed that you're just like, all right, I feel like leaving this world. Like how can you create a context in which you're actually going to have a song that comes out of this that you're going to perform later on?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you need to have like the belief that you're going to keep on living.
Yeah. It just creates no situation where it needs to exist. So why would you create it?
Yeah. Or like what's the point in getting better as an artist? Like,
Yeah.
I just suck. Especially if like that's the if your mood is putting you in that mindset.
I think this is just
Where-
this is the whole point of depression and why people who don't not that I'm not diagnosed with depression or anything like that, but when people
I'm sure you've experienced it, even if on the smaller scale.
yeah. I just wasn't going to claim that I suffer from depression or anything like that until I go and see a doctor about it. But nonetheless, like when people talk as if they don't understand what depression is or how it works, and basically say, like, oh, have you tried going for a walk? Have you tried having a drink? Have you tried drinking some more water? Had a bit of a sleep? Watched a movie? Seen some friends? It's like when you're in that mindset though, when you're down in that pit of despair, it's like
you're trying to avoid all those things.
It's like ultimate nihilism. Like nothing matters. There's no point in doing anything, and so it's impossible to even go like, maybe it'll make me feel better, because you just can't even get to that point. You're like, nothing matters, man. Nothing's worth it. Welcome to Coprolalia, the bright, happy sunshine. Is our tagline.
I know how, because I've got more to say on this topic, but I know how we can get out of this pit.
Love a good pit.
We can help the dog and our new dog Ant Beach and and our old duck friend who's unnamed. It's just a duck friend.
There it is. Sorry, he's being
wait, separate him for a bit. Separate him for a little bit.
Right, we've got him over here. Ant Beach or all day. Haven't checked.
No. Wait, let's get back on depression.
Yeah. Well, let's give Ant Beach a bit of time. The unnamed duck is hanging out as well, but they're all relaxed for now. Yeah, talk more about depression.
So yeah, when you're in like the bottom of the pit,
yeah,
what I experience is like this minimalizing thing, where I just think, oh, okay, everything I'm touching or affecting is in a negative way, so I'm gonna try and not just like affect anything. It seems like the right thing to do when you're in that mindset, but then people are telling you like, no, you just need to get out and see people, and you're like, no, I'm avoiding them because I don't want to bring them down or whatever. It's like it's a loop that feeds on itself. It's a vicious cycle.
Can you remember what has helped you in the past? Because I'm trying to picture what has actually gotten me out of any metaphorical pits.
I can't
actually think of what has worked.
Overwhelming sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
Also, cannibalizing it into some form of art. I've given myself that like naivety to actually work on something while I was just like wanting to lie down and just disappear in my brain. So the piece that I did, and it's on my page on Facebook.
The link is down below in the description.
It's just the word suffering, but like with lots of weird lettering and stuff. So I worked on that while I was really fucking depressed and just like drinking. Because it was like an ironic joke I could tell myself or something like. But yeah, ultimately, once I started feeling better, I was like, thank fuck that I had the sense of humor to like go beyond what the mood was telling me to do. Because ultimately, once you're happy again, all of that time you spent sad is just like a silly like. It's not exactly a joke. However, I do laugh at it.
Yeah.
I laugh at the times I spent sad and just went like, what a silly guy. Like,
yeah.
He just needed to figure out or not take things so seriously or whatever it was.
Sorry, I like that. I like because obviously you should take it. You should take it seriously. Like obviously, depression is something.
Yeah, when you're in it, there's nothing more serious. Yeah.
But I like I like kind of taking the piss out of it for my own. I'm solely talking about my own pits.
Yeah,
of
you
despair.
can refer to your depression however you want to, man.
Laughing at those helps me a little bit because when I get into the next one, there's sometimes I'll remember how silly I thought it was post depression last time, and so I was like, when I'm in it, I'm like, all right, you remember what happened last time? Don't take this too seriously. Just ride it out, baby, and it's gonna be shit. But don't get into the mindset that this is gonna be forever now, which is very easy to get into.
Yes, it is. Because I would tell you right now, a moment that you're happy in flies away immediately.
Yep.
A moment that you're depressed in never ends.
It's like an ocean.
Yeah.
These are not new metaphors. I think these are quite common. But
if you're looking to spend as much time on planet Earth as you can, be sad for the entire duration of your life.
Yeah. You'll live 1,000 lifetimes of misery.
you know how like you do meet people who are just happy constantly?
Yeah.
And like they seem to, I'm sure everyone goes through trouble, but there just seems to be some people who just like don't get it, don't face it. And then I honestly think some of them get to the end of their life and they're just like, well, that was fun. And then just like slip away into this peaceful...
Yeah, might be a few people out there.
Everyone's happy about their life. No one's crying about it. They're just like, well, he got to do everything he wanted to do. He's left us a large sum of money. Like,
just hang
whatever.
up the hat. Like, it's just like coming home after a trip. Like, that was good.
Yeah.
Hang up the hat and you're done. Go to bed. It's a nice way of looking at it. I'm sure there's some people out there who enjoy that. I have my moments. I wouldn't say I'm super down the pits.
I think I get to... I've got many years to screw this all up, but at the moment, I don't feel like I completely gave up on all of the opportunities that came my way. Like,
yeah.
I've taken leaps of faith where many wouldn't bother. So that's not to say that there were leaps of faith that they wanted to take and didn't. I took leaps of faith that don't make any sense. And didn't benefit anybody really, but so I don't feel like I've wasted my time so far. Plenty of time to fuck that up.
Oh man, I've got two. Oh, banging the mic, banging. I have two topics today, and they both entwine amongst what we've been talking about really nicely, real good, real
nice.
Good. So I'm gonna first start with,
babies.
Okay, so just in terms of my experience with depression and art and how they interact with each other. Sorry, been eating nuts. The getting back and doing, like, just kind of pushing yourself to do something. And I've spoken about this prior on the podcast several times, but that absolutely worked for me. And I kind of realized recently that's probably why I'm not as into my cartoons at the moment. Is because the cartoons originally were purely out of frustration. It was like I had nothing else to do, and I was feeling really sad about myself, really depressed about who I was, and also kind of the world around me.
And work is therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just like me mocking my own sadness and mocking the world around me through nihilistic humor, which is what nihilistic humor is used for primarily in media at the moment. And it worked a treat. But now, I'm in a much better place than I was when I started doing the cartoons. And I'm still very highly critical and analytical of society and social situations I find myself in. I'm constantly observing things and wanting to talk about them, but either they're far more serious in ways that, like, I don't know if my cartoons are really the platform that I would like to use to talk about them, or they're just not that, or they're, I don't know, they're more like a personal journey kind of thing that I'm going to look at more through music or poetry or whatever. I don't know, there's no real point to this, it's just kind of gotten me thinking about, like, when you're creating in a way that it's purely based on your own level of excitement. Because people pin you into categories. So now most people on Instagram would know me as a cartoonist. They'd be like, "That's all Rhath boy. He has a rhino mask and he likes to draw cartoons."
Yeah.
Prior to doing the cartoons, though, most people would have known me as a musician. And now I'm coming back to being music primarily, and cartoons sitting on the back burner. And we discovered how that process came to be is like when with that conversation with the worm who we went to school with. Yes.
And we realized like we were crushing each other's dreams of being like visual artists because we were both probably a bit insecure about it, and then either him and I, the worm and I, preyed on your insecurity, or basically just very insecure about our own illustrations too, and just like projected that onto you, or and see, Connor doesn't draw. I don't see him draw anything.
Yeah, right.
I mean, whatever the worm's name was. But I'm sure, like, back in the day, we were both super good at it. And then I didn't draw for years.
Well, again, like, you had a purpose now. Or you have a purpose now. And I think that's basically my point, is, like, people kind of pigeonhole themselves. That's the bloody word. They pigeonhole themselves into things that they do or that they are. And it really frustrates me.
That's so fitting.
When... Yeah.
That you have pigeon cartoons and you pigeonholed yourself with them.
Yeah, and it got to the point when I was so frustrated that I just quit cold turkey. Hey! We have so much fun on this podcast. Yeah. Basically, I don't know. If you want to do it as a job, then sure, you kind of probably do need to not stick to one thing, but like people are going to expect content to continue, if that makes sense.
I'm putting all my money on capitalism completely falling apart.
Wait, where's the thing? No, that's good.
I just realized how good that is as a statement. I'm going to remember it. It's pretty funny.
I'm
putting all my money on the collapse of capitalism.
That's a meme, baby. So yeah, I don't know. Just if you're doing things purely for yourself in terms of creativity. Oh my god, creativity. Absolutely, just run with whatever you're excited with, and learn to. I don't know. Learn what works for what type of expression. Because I don't know. That's really helping me at the moment.
Nice.
Anyway.
So you've shifted into producing music again, and I've been shifting into writing and performing music as well. So it looks like we're going through a similar cycle.
Also, actually, just for one more note on this is in this day and age. Like just like every next day, you'll see a post on Facebook like, "Oh, look at this random artist in this place that's doing this crazy thing. It's so wacky and wild. Let's check them out, boys!" And then all the boys get together, and they go and check them out.
They get 15 minutes.
Yeah. But that's kind of the thing. Like you just like some of these people are just like, I took VB cans and I turned it into a big old robot boy by the lake. It's just something I did. And then I put it up on Instagram, and everyone was like, well, that's pretty cool. You never know what's going to work. And I think in this day and age, is because like technology has allowed you to make things a lot easier, which is, I think, in my opinion, really good. But also it means you can get it out there very easily, and you never know what's going to blow up. So I don't think it's a big problem to kind of dance around and try different things. Don't half-ass it. Like, give everything your all. And if you want to be the absolute best at something, then yeah, sure, put in the years and years and years of work. But if that's not what you're into, if you're just kind of like making stuff and you want to do it, run with it, and you never know what will work. So it can actually maybe be beneficial to try your hand at different things, and you never know where you'll find the most inspiration or the right situation or whatever. So
and what I find is that if you don't even know what works for you, trying lots of things, if you figure out like an idea that you've come up with is actually just like you're really passionate about, then people are more likely to to sense that the passion you put into that thing that you've given a shot at. And so yeah, like I was saying with that suffering picture I did, so that was like an actual emotional event for me.
Yeah.
But I actually know for a fact that it's probably not ever going to be like an interesting piece on like some sort of mass scale. But some of the pieces that I've worked on just recently, they have like sort of created a bit of a reaction, and I think they're sensing the passion that I feel for them.
Yeah.
But that's been after a long time of just doing whatever came to my brain.
Yeah. It's perhaps this is just part of growing up. And we're still we're getting to our mid-20s now, but like still obviously very young. But that's one thing that I'm having to teach myself now to be more emotionally involved with my art, where it was almost purely like based on my perception of the world and just kind of my analysis of it. And now it's more based on emotion. And I think I had this discussion with my brother who plays a bit of saxophone, and we had a chat about this, about people who play music that they don't listen to. And when he went through uni, and he's also now working with, he's also now teaching young children. And these people who are like, yeah, I really want to do this thing. I really want to play some jazz, or I really want to play blah, 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 blah. But they don't listen to it. A lot of people just listen to whatever's on the radio. I don't know who the fuck listens to the radio. They listen to whatever's on Spotify, right? They've got their music they listen to, but then they go and play this other music. And I did that when I played with him and a couple of other people. I played jazz, a gypsy style of jazz called jazz manouche. But I never listened to it. I listened to it a little bit as like a background noise kind of thing. It was because it has a really nice vibe to it, and it creates a certain vibe. Fucking good word, stick with it. But I never really listened to it intently because I really desperately wanted to. It was just something I put on, and so when I played it, it was hard to get really passionate about it. And that's the same thing I've done now with like singer-songwriter stuff. I tried writing singer-songwriter stuff, but I was never listening to it. The thing I was listening to constantly was hip-hop.
Kanye West.
It's been Kanye on a loop for 25 years.
So yeah,
since I was a bibby.
So we've moved into the Kanye West section of the podcast, where we allocate some time where we just talk about Kanye. No, but yeah, I like the point you're making. Yeah.
The point...
Do you consume cartoons?
Not as much as I make them. I make more cartoons than I look at. And I think that's another thing, is that I don't I'm not looking at as much art at the moment, so obviously I'm not going to want to produce it as much. So the point that me and Bryn were kind of arriving on was that basically I said to him that the thing that I've come to realize the most is people, regardless of their knowledge of music, regardless of their knowledge of art, people know people really, really well because it's the only thing they give a fuck about. Everything we do is based on people. This is not new information. This is not a great...
People are super complex, unlike a lot of the universe.
Yeah, and also we're just social creatures, and we just desperately want to feel part of a group. And so, because of that, I think people just react really, really well to honesty. This sounds a bit silly or cheesy, perhaps, but even if you have no fucking clue about music, you can very quickly tell the difference between someone who's playing with passion and someone who's playing just because it's their job, or they're just sitting on it. You know, they're just sitting on the beat and they're just doing the thing and blah, 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 blah. But someone who's really got the fucking energy, you don't need to know any shit about music. You can see, like, that guy's fucking got something. I want to see what that person's doing. And so, yeah, if you don't fucking listen to it, or if you're not passionate about it, that really comes through.
Yeah, I agree.
And... that's been like the main thing that I've been interested in since day one. I think it's just taken a long time to kind of start to give myself more emotionally into it. But it's like our passion for Jack White, or previous Jack White's
I was just
passion
thinking
for
about Jack White,
Sunhouse, like old blues singers who they weren't going to make fucking money off what they were doing, and Sunhouse's best song, Jack White's favorite song, is Sunhouse clapping out of fucking time and singing a blues song, not really that well in tune either.
Is it Don't Mind People Grinning in Your Face,
Yes.
or is it John the Revelator?
Pretty sure it's...
Got a letter this morning, death letter.
I think it is Don't Mind Grinning in Your Face. Don't mind people grinning in your face.
I think that's a good lesson, that song. I think that's one of the reasons it's so good. Because if you don't mind me just breaking down my interpretation of that
Yeah,
song.
absolutely, go for it. I ranted for a while.
So he just says, "Don't you mind people grinning in your face?" Like it's the idea that like basically someone is screwing you over and they're like smiling in your face. They're like enjoying the sadism of that experience, and just like your ability to like to transcend that and actually not let it break you down is a really strong part of the human nature.
Yeah. And probably an extremely integral part of a character living those times in that situation.
Yeah.
It's funny when you can really boil anything down to a to an inspirational quote that I've read on a fucking poster at some point.
Well,
Probably
yeah.
just says, follow your heart or some bullshit like that.
That's why
true.
Geordie. That's why Geordie read so many self-help books and said that there's only like 5 bits of knowledge between all of them.
Yeah. A lot of it's not as complex as
Work hard. Read a book in your field. Just like really basic stuff.
yeah. Just follow your. If you want to do something, like you just need to do that. It's gonna be such a burden on your soul if you didn't pursue the thing that you wanted to pursue.
Yep.
Well,
and that's also what makes it easy to just go and do it. Like, sometimes you just have you've got no other choice. Like, that's the only thing you really care about is doing what you want to do.
That's another thing, is like, people who like, oh man, how do you fucking, like, talking to jazz players, like, oh man, how do you fucking practice, like, 8 hours a day? It's crazy. Like, because it's not work in the same way you think of it as work, because it's what they do. It's just, they have to do it because they just love it so much, and they just have that drive that pushes them to do it. But everyone can find something like that. It's not the same as just toiling away at a meaningless job. There's a different type of drive to it, and
oh yeah.
yeah.
I would argue that it's the only drive we're really meant to have, and that like a lot of these sort of careers that people are forced into is like a failure of our society to understand that.
Yeah.
Because really, like, I think like what you were saying with people being the thing that really matters to everyone. If you care about the community you're a part of, your brain will just go, oh, I really want to help. How can I help?
Yeah.
What can I contribute? And usually what they want to contribute is some really good thing to keep the whole society working. But when you ask the question to somebody else, what can I contribute? And they're like, oh, here we go. Let's see what I can get this guy to do for a little money. Maybe.
Yeah.
Make him. Let's trick him into thinking that like he's doing it for himself by paying him so he can have just like materials.
You see posts like this all the time on Facebook, basically things saying like young people don't want to be tradies anymore in Australia. And so there's a decline in the number of people who are going into the trades, and that's a big issue for the trades and for building our houses and buildings and shit. But those kind of things, my first thought was always like, I know people who want to do that. I know people who want to build houses and shit, or like have a passion for working with their hands and building shit. It doesn't have to be a house, but it can be fucking. But I know people who are passionate about that kind of thing. It's pretty. It seems relatively clear because I know so many people who just talk very like, oh yeah, I really want to do this thing. And in fact, I've got someone who was really into. She studied to be a zoologist or whatever.
Yeah.
She got a master's in it or something like that. And she's like, man, the
very
fucking,
secure job future.
fucking industry sucks though, and it's just no fun. It's just like working in boring ass labs doing tests for giant corporations and shit. I was like, God fucking damn it! Like this is the issue. Is like you have people who have this drive, that have this passion, who are willing to do this kind of thing. But it's not an issue that young people don't want to. I'm absolutely talking out my ass in terms of like I don't fucking know anything about the trades or about how the science industries work or anything like that.
Well, it's also because that's definitely not your contribution to it all. You know, like people try, but they really can't deny the importance of arts and culture in a society.
Yeah.
And you're already contributing as hard as you can in that regard, for little to no reward except for the sort of metaphysical feeling of satisfaction. Yeah, but if you grow up being a tough guy who really just, because some people do really love just like picking up heavy shit and moving it.
Yeah.
Like some people are just really content.
I get that.
Getting physically strong.
Actually working
and so eventually
on shit
their
is
contributions do become in that field.
Yeah. There just has to be more. Okay, well, I don't know how the industries work, but I can say there needs to be more. Just honor given to those jobs. Like people, we just at a very young age, we need to be teaching young people that like, yeah, man, fucking. If you want to be an amazing scientist, like that's the fucking tits. Do it. Absolutely be that. You want to build houses? Fucking go do that. That's amazing. Just be passionate about it. Teach kids that if they feel a passion, if they feel a drive, then absolutely, it's not a degrading job. Don't worry about the fucking money. That's not the problem. The thing that you need to worry about is what do you want to do to contribute to society? What excites you?
Yeah.
And then they get passionate and they take pride in their job. And that's the thing. There's like fucking young people don't take pride in their jobs anymore. It's like why the fuck would they? Most of these jobs,
why would you? Like, how is that dignified at all?
They're not reaping the rewards, and it's so hard to see your contribution to society in these kind of industries.
Or the actual fact is, it's a detriment to your society.
Well, I mean, if you're building houses in Australia, imagine being a young person building a house and like, I can't afford this. No one I know can afford this. No one I know will ever be able to afford this. Like,
or worse yet, they're working for a company that very cheaply sets them up and doesn't follow the health regulations and a whole lot of other things because it's a company that's trying to cut its costs.
Yeah.
And then just knowing that it's a piece of shit that they're working on.
Yeah, totally.
Like knowing that it's going to fall apart in 5 years or the foundations were shitty or like Joel, if you can remember that guy, he was on the podcast a couple times.
He's got a good reason. He's living a lot of life right now, and that's exciting.
Yeah, he is. His when he worked as a plumber back when he had a physical body and wasn't the time traveling multi-dimensional being that he is now.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of his time fixing the plumbing of other companies.
Yeah, right.
That were local.
Yeah.
Who just did crappy, shitty jobs. Most of his job is fixing other people's bad work.
That's so depressing.
Yeah.
That's just the worst.
He goes in and he can tell which other company in town worked on it by how poorly it was set up and the materials.
Yeah.
So I don't blame anyone for being really just fucking tired of grinding themselves down on their job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't say again. I don't know. I can't say much. It'd be great to get Joel on and speak about that. About that part of those industries he actually has some experience in.
He's keen. He's keen as hell, but he just doesn't
Just busy. That's cool.
pop into being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
But I can say, are we millennials? Do we fall into that bracket?
yeah, for sure. There are people who are like 10 years older than us that qualify as millennials.
Right. When does the cut? It doesn't matter. Okay. Anyway, but as a millennial,
It'd be fun to search that up though. So I might.
That's why so many of my friends and I have been depressed, is because that seems to be just that's just how things are. And why would you want to be part of all that? Why would you want to get into those kind of things when I've just moved into an apartment not too long ago, and just looking around the place, like, the place is great. The place looks lovely. It's a nice home, and there's parts of it that are really good. Double glazing, good insulation, things like that. It's like fucking sick. That's way better than it used to be back in the day in Australia. We didn't learn how to use insulation for some reason until just recently. Even though this country gets stupidly fucking hot and cold. Whatever. Anyway,
millennials are considered to have begun in 1982.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all. We're gone.
But there's so many things I can look around and go, they just were lazy. No, not the guys. It's not the people working. It's just like, that's just money. They just didn't spend the money on it. That's bullshit. There's no fucking... There weren't towel rails in the bathroom. We had to buy our own towel rails and install them. It's like, what the... who doesn't need a towel rail in their goddamn bathroom? That's insanity. Just little things like that. Like, that's just money. It's just people just being stingy. But this is where people are living.
And they're only stingy because they're competing in that market. If you like, we used to have like master craftsmen, people who were like considered the best in that, like, sort of best at using that material, best at who understood their tools better than anybody else. And like their pride and their life's work would be in making the best products they could.
Yeah.
Not amassing the most amount of money, teaching someone else to do what they did, and then paying them half of what they earned when they did it themselves, and then just allowing like this little bubble that they've created of like to just continue making their money for the rest of their life while they don't have to work.
Yeah. That's the... I guess... fuck, we just sound like a couple of bloody commies, don't we? But that's where I just completely tap out, and I see a good example is actually the video game industry. We've talked about this prior, and
people make tech demos these days and try and just stretch them into full games.
Yeah, and it's just the reason everything is so fucked is because they're just trying to make as much money as possible for as little amount of product as possible.
Yeah.
And I cannot possibly subscribe to the idea that you need to make all the money. All I can imagine is you need to make enough money to pay yourself, you need to pay the people who built the fucking game, and that's about fucking it. If you can just make enough profit so you just cover the costs, and maybe enough so you can make the next one, because why else? Why do you have to build an empire of money? Why do you have to build a stockpile of fucking cash? Like, we're all just here to just hang out and have the best life possible. So just fucking do that. Just find something that you enjoy doing. If you want to be in the video game industry, just make enough so you can pay everybody. But apart from that, like, I can't.
Also, like,
get on board with it.
I would pour money into the industry I was a part of because I want other people to come up with stuff. Like, I don't want to just enter the music industry, declare myself the best at what I do, and then have everyone else just kneel before me. Like, that's a dumb dream.
Yeah. Especially in a
market. Not only does that mean that none of these other people who are kneeling to me, I'm like,
I'm losing you. We can probably talk about Australia's internet while we're at it. let's just give this an old pausey do, and we'll bloody right go back to you. Cool. Go.
Yes. So how could I possibly think that my imagination is the only thing that I'll need in like all of art and culture? Like other people's ideas and other people's creations are what give variety to my life, not just my own imagination.
And this just plays into what we were saying before about like we are just social creatures. Like we're just money seems like a real good tangible thing that you can that's gonna make everything real good. I mean, this is okay. Now, one thing I will say was I'm coming from a total place of privilege of not wealth at all, and then not in a bloody long shot, but I don't have to worry about my bills and shit like that. But in terms of people who are successful enough to actually start building companies and paying all their workers and doing all this kind of shit. Oh, no, I've lost my tangent. I'm out.
Yeah, money's not a really good way to measure like how good you are of a person.
Yeah.
Like tell you what, the smile upon a baby's face.
Uh-huh.
That's how you know that you've done it.
I think this is a pretty optimistic episode, which I'm enjoying. And I've got some more.
I think I'm not going to be able to hold back Ant Beach much longer. He's looking to have a go. Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be happy with the duck there. We should have known that bringing a duck into this mess, old Poochie boy into this mess is gonna create some chaos amongst our current pet.
I have a feeling we invited the chaos. The moon creates some crazy, like, sonic anomalies.
Okay, well they entered into a new dimension. I guess they'll battle it out in that dimension, and
it may echo into this dimension just based on Einstein's theories of dimensions and echoing.
You know that famous theory.
Yeah. Like when he was calculating how to put roller coasters on the moon when there's no gravity. Which is not entirely true. There'd be a little bit of gravity. Yeah. Just for all the nerds out there.
Or just regular people who have any basic knowledge of how the universe works.
Those people don't get irrationally upset at someone incorrectly claiming physics.
I started reading. I'm gonna jump around now. Fuck it. We got got? Like 10 minutes ish nearly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Started reading a book while I was in the country at my pa's, and there was just a really good bit in it. I can't remember who it was by. I'll try and remember who this book was by, and I'll bloody mention it next time or something. But just put the whole outrage culture really well for me in my head. It was basically saying that both sides of the outrage culture, which is the people who are being offensive and the people who are being outraged, generally are kind of two of the same coin. And and this person's point was, so many people forget, everybody forgets, that almost everybody is polite, shy, and just wants to kind of get home. Like, that's basically all that anyone wants to do, is they just want to go home. Or any time of the day. There's so few people who are actually out there, like, fucking having a fucking fight with each other at all fucking time. And something we need to remember is those people might just be kind of awful. So that's the way he put it. Is like he was comparing this particular situation where there was this outrage, and he was like, trying to figure out which side he was on or what he actually thought of the situation. Wait, stop. what if both of these people are bad? What if they're both awful people, regardless of how I feel about their opposite opinions? Yeah. So it's you kind of need it, like. Without one or the other, like that one would gain a voice and would just get traction. Like you kind of need them to battle it out amongst themselves, but we need to not let ourselves get so caught up in it, and especially in the age of Twitter and Facebook and shit like that. Like for the most part, people just want to kind of get on with things, and we need to have these discussions. We need to talk about big things, but little outrages that blow up on the internet, little people getting freaked out about a new ad campaign that perhaps was a bit too risque.
Yeah.
Just let the fucking idiots battle it out is not actually the majority of people, and
oh yeah.
Start paying
well, see, I know people who say they just need to quote that I forget who made the quote, but it's just like all the world needs for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, fence sitters or centrists or whatever get criticized, like.
Yeah.
You need to pick a side right fucking now.
Yeah.
And I don't subscribe to that. However, I'm sure it's... A lot of people are passionate about that, though.
There's a difference between picking a side and blowing everything out of the water, blowing everything out of proportion. Like, because we're talking... I'm talking about smaller scale shit. I'm not talking about... people starting revolutions or people, I'm not talking about things even like the Me Too movement and stuff like that. Like these are big social changes. Like these are fine.
You're not talking about Switzerland in World War II. You're talking about you're not talking about like having neutrality during a world war. You're talking about like
there was
Caitlyn Jenner offering a Pepsi to a riot policeman for an ad campaign.
Is that a thing that happened?
Oh yeah.
Cool, but absolutely that kind of shit, and everyone gets up on their little soapboxes and fucking starts shouting at each other, and then the other people start shouting back, and it becomes this giant thing, and everyone thinks it's more important because everyone thinks like, this plays into this bigger social movement, like but this little situation, this little thing that you're fighting about, this little thing that you're screaming at each other about.
Yeah,
it's nothing, and who has that energy? Who has that fucking energy to put up with this shit or to get up on that box?
I can apply this to the World War metaphor. So
go for it.
So let's say,
well, that was weird.
Let's say you did pick a side, right? And many people did during the World War, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But what if America got really mad at England?
Yeah.
No, what if America got really mad at Australia for not being a part of a battle that was being fought completely outside of their awareness or like troop formations? Like say like, why weren't you there during Pearl Harbor, man?
Yeah.
It's like, well, why the fuck would we be there?
Yeah.
Just so what I'm saying is like, yes, there's a bigger movement going on, but we don't have to fight every single little battle along the way. There are some people who are just more passionate about that particular battle.
Yeah, I agree with that. People fighting these battles in different ways as well. Like, to actually have the shouting matches, that's a very particular few, and we shouldn't be scared of them as well. That's another thing, is like I don't want to take those people too seriously, because they'll have their shouting matches, they'll do that part by themselves, but like people on Twitter get really freaked out, or people on Facebook really freaked out, like, fucking alt-left's coming at us, they're shouting at us. Like, they're not shouting at you, they're shouting at the alt-right. Like, let them both have their battles by themselves over there. Like, the rest of us, we're talking quietly over coffee, just like how are we gonna fix sexism and stuff in society, because we don't have that. We're not shouting, we don't have that energy. I think that's the main thing, is just people freaking out that everything is getting more and more chaotic, and I would like to remind at least the people I know aren't shouting at each other. The people I know are having calm discussions and just getting on with their day, and they go home.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to do.
And also, they're fighting in their own way.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
If changing themselves and realizing misogyny or sexism within themselves is their form of battling it in society, then that's an effective way to do it, if you ask me.
Yeah, totally. That's been my. I've after this whole thing, after the big turmoil that was in Melbourne, after that the rape and murder, and that kicked off a big storm, as it fucking should. By the way, that's not me. I'm not going to touch that. But I got very self-reflective and how I'm part of these problems, and that was kind of my. That's what I took away from it anyway, as I worked on myself a lot, which has been really good. I don't know, that might be a sidebar to what the fuck we're talking about. Well,
so what were you gonna say about your dad getting married?
It tied really well into something else we were talking about, but I can't fucking remember. Basically, just my dad got married on the weekend, kind of as a surprise to his partner, who they've been together for 5 years or 6 years anyway. But it was her birthday, her 60th birthday, and Dad's 65-ish, somewhere around there. Can't fucking remember. Doesn't matter. But they got surprise married. And this is good because we'll end on this because this is a nice optimistic message, I think. It's Dad's third marriage, and so he obviously had a marriage where he raised me, and he had a marriage where he raised a previous family, and now he's doing this one. There's not going to be a family because they're quite old now. Not quite old, but they can't. They're not going to start families.
You have a new stepbrother.
Yes, technically. Or somewhat technically. I'm not even sure if it's actually technically a legal marriage, but it's more about the ceremony and all that.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
But seeing them so happy together was obviously really, really nice. But it's been, just from my takeaway from it was, because everyone was like, third time lucky, you'll get them this time. And I thought that's funny. Especially shouting at it from the crowd up while they're on stage getting married, and these old
my god,
these old coots are shouting at them. It's great. It's
he's got the sense of humor.
Yeah, it was that kind of vibe. Like Dad gave them the finger and was like, and when they said do you take Wendy to be your wife or whatever, and he just kind of gave a thumbs up and was like, yeah, pretty sweet, right? Pretty funny. Anyway, but I found it really nice. Basically, it's seeing Dad go through so many different stages in life, especially later on in life. Like now he's getting in his mid-60s. Seeing that it doesn't have to be this one long progression, or like you progress, you constantly growing, you're constantly evolving. But there's even in this day and age, is that you still have this idea in the back of your head that you're meant to be constantly building on your life that you've already got.
Yeah.
I'm really excited, though, that you don't know what's going to happen, and you're going to twist and turn, and you're going to go through these different adventures and find different people, different loves,
me too.
Different careers, different fucking anything. Like, you don't need to stress, and you don't have any timelines that you have to strictly follow. And also, on the terms of relationships, their relationship is perfect for where they're at now. But they probably wouldn't have worked when they were 20. Yeah. And that's another thing, is Mum and Dad, they were perfect to raise me and Brian. Like, we had a really good childhood together, and that family was really good when it lasted. But it absolutely needed to end when it did. And they've both found new people that work really, really well for them now, and that's really exciting to see different people involved in their lives for different parts of their lives. And there's a bit of turmoil and stuff throughout.
So life, I may not be with the love of my life for another 40 years, is what you're saying.
You won't be with one of you'll be with one of your loves, though.
Yeah.
You'll go. Yeah.
They'll all be the loves of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
at that point in time.
Yes. But that's great.
Gosh. Yes, that is great.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think that's a good note. We've actually found a good note to end the podcast on.
Is this a podcast?
I don't know. It's like a car review show or something, I guess.
This has been Coprolalia, your favourite podcast. We'll catch you next time for another bunch of bullshit, baby.
For your next favourite podcast.
Like, comment, subscribe, tell us why we're wrong. Confess your love to someone in the comments below.
And above all else, don't be a filthy capitalist.